Problem passengers. Did you know that they're often younger men? And that women behind the wheel or in the passenger seat actually prevent car crashes? What about passengers with trust issues or the dreaded backseat driver who'd grab the steering wheel if you'd let them? Though normally an annoyance, sometimes they might even save the day. So who has the makings of an ideal passenger?
Who can act as another set of eyes and ears for the person who doesn't distract them at critical moments.
What can we learn from professional passengers?
It's not working without a good portion of trust.
And what can you do to help your driver? If you see something your driver should be aware of, say something. Rev delves into the art of co-driving. Riding shotgun. If you're not behind the steering wheel, the front passenger seat is the most coveted spot in a car. You've got a clear view ahead, can stretch your legs out, have dibs on the radio, and can fiddle with the aircon as much as you like.
Shotgun for eternity!
You can't call shotgun for eternity.
I just called it.
Essentially, you're a passenger prince or princess with zero responsibility, right? Think again. Riding shotgun comes loaded with responsibility. In fact, that's where the term comes from. From the guy who'd ride up front next to the coachman, shotgun in his hand to protect their carriage from enemy attacks. Sure, the modern-day passenger doesn't have that sort of responsibility, but they do wield significant influence. In fact, the relationship between the driver and the front seat passenger is particularly sacred, and it all comes down to one thing: trust.
Stop it.
What?
I can feel you judging my driving.
I'm not touching your driving.
Let go of the handle then.
Whether you're traveling with a friend or on a road trip, you have a huge role to play in how your driver behaves, the safety of other road users, and whether you're involved in an accident.
You're going the wrong way!
Rev delves into the science behind this and tells you why being a passenger isn't as passive of a role as you might think it is.
Look, kids, forget it. It's amazing. I cannot get one.
Probably 20 years ago, people started to realise when they started looking carefully at crash data that there was a bit of a pattern emerging, especially for young drivers.
That's Michael Regan, an emeritus professor at the University of New South Wales in Australia. He took part in one of the pioneering studies of passenger influence on driver behaviour.
Depending on the driver, depending on the passenger and other characteristics, passengers can have both a positive and a negative effect on drivers.
Many factors come into play here: age, sex, the relationship between the driver and passenger, the number of passengers, and more. Factors that can make all the difference in whether that simple trip to the grocery store and back is run-of-the-mill or extremely eventful.
Bart, I left the driver's license-making machine on. Turn it off.
Let's face it, getting a driver's license is a rite of passage, a symbol of freedom, a tiny plastic card that says the world's your oyster.
25 years old? You're not 25 years old. This idea is completely fake.
Let's pull to a stop.
Enter the teenage driver, eager to take on the tarmac, chauffeur their friends around town, and prove they've left childhood behind for good.
Come on, you little moron! What are you waiting for, son? Christmas?
And here's where it gets interesting. Not surprisingly, younger drivers are more accident-prone given that maturity and inexperience play a huge role in performance behind the steering wheel.
Road trip!
But the age of their passengers counts too. Turns out that young male drivers between the ages of 16 and 24 are hugely influenced by passengers roughly the same age, especially if they're male passengers.
We here.
Why? Well, a number of reasons come into play here. A prefrontal cortex that isn't fully developed yet, which means risk-taking behavior can sometimes be quite out of control. There's also the element of peer pressure. And a little something called the feedback loop of bravado. Here, bad behavior like exceeding the speed limit is rewarded with cheers and encouragement that in turn leads to more bad behavior.
Bart? Cruise control, my good man. Everybody all set back here? Nelson, good to see ya. Martin, always a pleasure.
The result, accidents and injuries. But that's not all. More young male passengers equals more chaos.
If a young male driver is carrying another male passenger, that increases the risk of having a crash or a fatal crash by about 2 times. If they carry 3 or more passengers, that risk increases by about 5 times.
So what about young women? The data shows that young female drivers are less susceptible to peer pressure from passengers. And young female passengers tend to have a more positive influence on driving behavior in general, even on young male drivers. In fact, studies even indicate that carrying more than 2 female passengers in a car dramatically reduces the likelihood of a crash.
Young female passengers tend to reduce the crash risk of young male drivers. Interestingly, young female drivers aren't at any greater risk when they carry young female passengers. So that's an interesting finding.
Though when it comes to reining in bad behavior in a car, some passengers have a far higher success rate than others.
Go for it, champ.
Ow.
Sorry, just ease on the gas and...
Oh, too much! Too much! Why was I scared of this? This is exhilarating. No, it's not! Slow down! Don't tell me what to do. You're not my father.
Say hello to the parental figure. Usually an actual parent, but sometimes simply a person older than the driver and with some level of authority over them. When drivers are accompanied by parental figures, they're on their best behavior and follow the rules of the road. They're not tempted to show off, as is often the case when driving with their peers, and they're paying full attention to the traffic around them. The result, far fewer accidents.
This navigation system's all messed up. It thinks we're in a park. Oh my God, it is a park! Away from the kids! Aim for the lake!
But give young drivers the responsibility of transporting much younger passengers and the results are surprising.
If you've got a young person aged between 16 and 19 years, if they carry a child, their risk of crashing, it has been found through research, actually decreases.
What about traveling with your significant other? Well, despite all the bickering...
Go straight.
No, Lola says take a right.
Well, you'll hit mall traffic. Just go straight. 50 feet.
Yeah, but she said take a right.
Well, I'm telling you to go straight.
Arguing.
You don't have the directions?
No, I was following him.
How could you not take the directions?
Because he's my directions.
And the potential for discussions to get out of hand.
Please stop.
The last person in the world that I'd want to hurt is you.
If you keep talking, I'm going to get out of the car.
I think the fact that I did it just shows how broken we are. Okay. How much we really need help. Oh my God, help!
It turns out that in most cases, your significant other's presence in the car doesn't up your risk of getting in an accident.
Are you okay?
If you drive with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, it has no influence at all in increasing your crash risk. When you've got, your spouse there with you, if you love them, you want to protect them, and so you don't want to, expose them to danger.
In fact, studies show that feedback from one's partner can help a driver stay out of trouble. If someone has a partner who often corrects their driving behavior, chances are that they'll avoid making similar mistakes even when that partner isn't in the car with them. What about general nagging and backseat driving? Research indicates that's filtered right out. In one ear, out the other. Now that we know the combination of drivers and passengers that lead to crashes and prevent crashes, let's take a look at why drivers carrying passengers do crash. It's often due to something called inattentional blindness, a phenomenon brought about by cognitive distraction. You've got your eyes on the road, you see the danger, but because your mind is elsewhere, you don't register it and fail to act to prevent an accident.
We can prove with an eye tracker that people were looking at the hazard, but they didn't respond to it because they weren't attending to it. To be able to respond to something, you've got to pay attention to it.
I am the car.
Righteous.
Younger drivers not only have less experience, they aren't as good at filtering out extraneous stimuli. And this is where older passengers tend to come into play.
Parents are going to promote a sense of responsibility when they're with the young driver. They are most likely to act as a co-pilot.
Co-pilot. That's a really interesting choice of words, which brings us to the role of the active passenger. Although not all of us can be professionals like Timo Gottschalk. The German rally co-pilot has competed for decades and even won the Dakar twice. So he's got insight into what it takes to make a driver front seat passenger combo work.
I think trust is a very important part of all the motorsport we are doing, because somehow you're giving your life in the hand of the driver and the driver is giving his life in the hand of the co-driver. So I think it's not working without the good portion of trust.
In a rally car, the driver's job is to focus on driving while the co-driver tells him what lies ahead and if there's a dangerous situation that they need to watch out for. It's about trust, coordination and communication, something that transcends the boundaries of nation and language.
You don't need to have a driver on your side or a co-driver from the same country, so at the end it's working even with completely different cultures. You just have to respect each other.
Though when he's off duty, Timo is pretty relaxed in a car.
I'm a good co-driver. I also like to drive a lot, but I also have no problem to sit beside any other driver. I even can sleep in Morocco in a taxi passing the Atlas Mountains. So I'm quite good on this.
There are a few lessons in what Timo says that we can apply to our own roles as passengers. Golden rules for the active passenger in a motor vehicle. For the most part, you really shouldn't get in the way of your driver. That means don't encroach into their space. There's nothing worse than a bony knee fouling with the gear shift or someone blocking their view out the rear view mirror. Offer to help with the radio, the aircon and the navigation if they'd like that. And act as a collision warning system. If you see something your driver should be aware of, say something. Without causing panic, of course. In fact, one of the key goals of the research we've talked about so far was to see how the role of an active passenger could be implemented in everyday driving situations to ensure better road safety. In Norway, the Speak Out road safety campaign encouraged passengers, especially teenagers, to be active backseat drivers, speaking out against unsafe driving practices. The results, a significant drop in teenage road fatalities and car crashes. An Australian campaign aimed at young drivers showed similar results. Australia has a graduated driver's license system. In many states, under 25s with a provisional license aren't allowed to carry more than one passenger under the age of 21. Immediate family accepted. So who is the ideal co-driver?
The ideal co-pilot, as the data suggests, is someone who is able to carry out the responsibilities of a co-pilot, who can act as another set of eyes and ears for the person, who doesn't distract them at critical moments that would take their eyes off activities and objects and events that are critical for safe driving.
Shotgun for eternity!
You can't call shotgun for eternity.
I just called it.
So the next time you call shotgun and strap yourself into the front passenger seat, ask yourself if you really have what it takes to make you worthy of that place of honor. And be on your best behavior. Chances are your life depends on it. And ask yourself exactly who you would like behind the steering wheel or as your co-pilot in a truly tricky driving situation. After all, the data seems to point in a pretty clear direction. Want more stories about global mobility culture? Subscribe to DW Rev.